If every single soap making lye calculator on the face of the earth disappeared from the internet, would you still be able to make soap, and would you still know how much lye to add to your soap? Welcome to our channel. My name is Anne, and along with my good friend Wayne, we run this YouTube channel, and we also run the Sussex Handmade Soap Company, which is a small bath and body business based in the southeast of the UK. And today I'm going to be showing you how I create my own lye calculator using an Excel spreadsheet and a little bit of maths, so that if the worst did happen and every soap calculator online suddenly vanished, you can use this method and still calculate your lye correctly. Now, today's video is going to be me just talking you through my Excel spreadsheet, showing you the formulas I use and showing you how to put it together so that if you have Excel, you can do exactly the same thing. The reasoning behind the numbers and the saponification values and where to find all of that, I have already covered in last week's video. If you haven't seen that yet, then do check it out here first, because it just goes into a little bit more depth about what we're talking about when I mention saponification values and conversion factors and things like that. So check out this video first, because although you will still be able to understand the lye calculator if you haven't watched this video, it's going to make a lot more sense if you do watch the other one first. Right, I'm going to take you over to my computer now, and I am just going to show you how quick and easy it really is. And I promise it is. There's some formulas, but we've only got to input them once, and once they're done, they're done. It's quick, it's easy, and it should hopefully really help you guys with calculating your lye at home and not necessarily having to rely quite so much on Soap Calc. So the first thing I'm going to do on our spreadsheet is put in a few columns and headings. We are going to start by writing down required superfat percentage, and then here we are going to write 100 minus required superfat. Then I'm going to skip down to this column here and write oil name, amount of oil in grams, the SAP value, and that is milligrams of potassium hydroxide, KOH, per gram. The next column is grams of potassium hydroxide per gram. Next is going to be the grams of sodium hydroxide, NaOH, per gram. And then the total potassium hydroxide required, and the total sodium hydroxide required in grams. I'm doing potassium hydroxide and sodium hydroxide in this calculator. Now I'm going to pull out the columns and just make it look a little bit prettier. Now I'm going to make all these bold so they stand out by clicking the B button. I'm going to make these bold as well by clicking B, pull that out a bit more. And this is essentially the columns that we're going to be working with today. So under the oil name section, you just want to write the names of the soap making oils that you are using. Or indeed, if you wanted to, you could write every soap making oil you could possibly think of and have a really in-depth lye calculator. So castor oil, I am just writing our standard recipe oils down here: coconut oil, cocoa butter, shea butter, olive oil, and sweet almond oil. I do not know why it's put half of those in bold, but we shall make it so they are not in bold. And down here is going to be where you write the amount of oil that you are using. We won't worry too much about this column as yet. What we will do is add in a column down here that says total oil weight, and one below that says total required lye amount. And then we're going to box everything in just to make it look pretty by clicking up here, clicking all borders. And I'm then going to highlight again to make it look pretty, this in a pale blue, so that we can easily see our oil name. If you were doing a long list of oils and you were scrolling down, you would lose these top columns. The way to avoid that is click on the cell just below all the frames that you want to remain visible at all times. So click here, go to view, and then come along here to freeze panes, click freeze panes, and click this button here that says freeze panes. Now if I scroll down, you can see that my headings are always there. So if I had a really long list of oils, I would still be able to see the columns here that tell me amount of oil, sap value, example. So sap value, this is what we chatted a little bit about in the previous video I mentioned. This is where you need to put the sap value of the oils. And as you can see, it's milligrams of potassium hydroxide per gram of oil. You can find your sap values from your supplier data sheets quite often, and also the Soapery have got a really nice blog post where they give a list of the sap values of all the oils that they sell. So that is really useful to hunt out if you use the Soapery and if you want a quick and easy reference point for sap values. I'm going to go ahead and fill in the sap values for my oils now. So I have found and added in our sap values here. What I am going to do is go back to my shea butter section, and in brackets here I'm going to put refined, because the sap value of refined shea butter is marginally different to the sap value of organic unrefined shea butter. So just so I know that is always going to be refined. If I wanted organic unrefined, I would add in another column with the correct sap value for the organic. Something like olive oil, pomace and extra virgin have the same sap number, so I'm just putting that in once as olive oil. Now we have got our sap values, we have got our oil names, so we need to add in our formulas to work out the amounts that we require. So the formula for the grams of KOH, as opposed to here where you see it says milligrams, is an easy formula. We always start a formula with an equals sign. So we do equals, and then we highlight this cell here, 182, so C6, and we divide it by 1000. And that gives us the amount in grams as opposed to the amount in milligrams. Grams to milligrams, basically it's milligrams divided by 1000 equals grams. And now we can click here in the bottom right of the cell, pull this down, and it will work out the sum for every single one of our columns. So for example, this cell here, C7, this is C7, divided by 1000 equals 0.255. And that is the potassium hydroxide saponification amount in grams per gram of oil. Moving on to sodium hydroxide. To get our sodium hydroxide saponification value in grams per gram of oil, we need to first start our formula with equals, and then we need to take the potassium hydroxide amount in grams. So we highlight this cell, click here, and as you can see it's written D6 for me, and we need to divide it by the conversion factor, which again I've talked about in the previous video. If you've watched that, you should hopefully know what I mean. We divide it by the conversion factor of 1.403, and we click enter, and that gives us the amount, and we can then pull that down. Now it looks a bit to me messy with all those numbers after the decimal place, so we can format it by clicking with our right mouse button, coming down here to format cells, and if we then select number, we can change it to 3 decimal places, which is quite a nice number of decimal places when we are working with our sodium hydroxide saponification amount. So that is how we have worked out our amounts per single gram. So now we need to work out how much lye, either potassium hydroxide for liquid soaps or sodium hydroxide for solid bar soaps, we are going to need in total. And for this bit, we need to remember that we are probably going to want a superfat up here. So firstly, I'm just going to put a number in the superfat field. Let's say 0. So we want a 0% superfat. Here, where it says 100 minus required superfat, we are going to do a sum, so everything automatically calculates. We are going to do equals to begin our sum, and we are then going to do 100 minus, then we're going to highlight this cell here, cell B1, and click enter. So obviously 100 minus 0 still equals 100. If this was a 5% superfat, you would see that it automatically changes to 95. So let's leave our superfat in there at 5% for now. Now we can work out what our total required amount of lye, and we're going to work with potassium hydroxide first, we are going to require. And to do this, you've guessed it's another formula, so we start with the equals. So we need to go to our potassium hydroxide column, and we do the amount required to saponify a single gram, so D6, 0.182. Then we times that by the amount of oil in our recipe. So we'll highlight that cell. Even though there's nothing in it yet, we'll pop something in it in a minute. And then to allow for factoring in our superfat, we need to then do divide by 100, which will give us 1%. And then we need to hit times, and then we highlight this cell here, the 100 minus required superfat number, like so, and we press enter. That gives us 0 because obviously we didn't put any oil in. Say we wanted 100 grams of oil, that would then calculate how much potassium hydroxide you require. There is one step here that is very important. In the past where I've shown you pulling the sums down, you'll see if I pull this sum down as it is, it does not work out. So we undo that. The reason it does not work out is because when we, actually, I'll show you again, we'll pull it down again. The reason it will not work out is that if you look at this sum here, when we go down here, all the numbers go down, and we want D6 to change into D7 because D6 is castor, D7 is coconut, that's what we want it to do. However, just here, you can see where it had said B2, it now says B3. We do not want B3 to become B3, we want it to remain at B2. The way to ensure it remains at B2 and not B3, if I escape for a second, delete what we've done, we go back to this formula here, and we need to put a $sign before and after the B, so it looks like that. So D6 times B6 divided by 100 times by $sign B, $sign 2. We press enter, and now when we pull our formula down, you can see that B2 is indeed still B2 whilst all the other numbers are changing as required. So definitely make sure you don't forget your $signs or it's going to throw your amounts out. So when it comes to our sodium hydroxide, we do the same formula as what we have just done, except we use our sodium hydroxide columns instead of our potassium hydroxide columns. So we start our formula with an equals, we go to our sodium hydroxide amount, highlight that, so equals E6 times by the amount of oil in the recipe. Then we divide by 100, and then we times by cell B2, our required superfat amount. We press enter. Then we go back into here and we add in our $signs before and after B2 to ensure that when we pull down, the B2 still says B2, everything else has changed to the appropriate column. Now what I'm going to do, just to make these look nice, right click, format the cells, go back to the number section, change it to 3 decimal places and click OK. And that now gives us our required lye amounts. When it comes to the totals, it's a pretty easy formula. So you just click here for the oil weight, then you click on formulas, you click auto sum, check that all your cells are highlighted and press enter, and that will give you the total weight of your oils. For your total required lye amount, you do the same thing, but under these columns here. So auto sum, enter, auto sum, enter. And that will tell you the total required lye amount in your recipe. So let me show you. If we add in what I do for my recipe, so 57 of castor, 184 for coconut, cocoa butter 38, shea butter 75, olive oil 340 and sweet almond oil 99, we hit enter. And you can see down here it is telling me for a sodium hydroxide soap, I need 109.354 grams of lye if I want a 5% superfat. And for our soaps, we use 109 grams of lye, so you can see how that is worked out. And just here, this would be if I was making a liquid soap, so potassium hydroxide. This would be my total potassium hydroxide required amount. If I wanted a different superfat, all I need to go here, change it. Say I wanted a 0% superfat. Say I'm making like a laundry bar. Change it to 0. And if you watch down here, once I press enter, it has updated automatically to show me the required lye amounts. Say I'm making a salt bar and I wanted a 25% superfat. Again, the number down here has changed to reflect that superfat amount. And that is just about it if you are in the UK and you are using grams. I am going to make these bold. I think they need to be bold. Also, what I'm going to do before I show you the conversion is just to make it easier so you don't get confused by columns, because it's easy to misread columns. I am going to highlight the sodium hydroxide column and highlight it in orange. Then I'm going to highlight the required amount for potassium, change it to orange. Then I'm going to go to the sodium columns and I'm going to highlight them in green and in green. And I'm doing it like that purely so you can easily see orange and orange go together, green and green go together. Just makes it a little bit easier for my eyeballs to distinguish between the different types of lye. So you might say, well, that's all well and good, but I'm in the US and I work in ounces. So just over here, we're going to do a little conversion. If you are working in grams, then that is all you'll need to do. If you're working in ounces, there is one more little step. So up here, just so I know what it is, I'm going to write conversion to ounces. We'll highlight that in bold. And in this column, I'm going to write total KOH required in brackets ounces. We're going to drag this cell out so you can see all the writing. And here I'm going to write total NaOH required, and again in ounces. And as before, we'll just highlight it, click up here to add the border lines and drag it out so you can see the entire amount there. And to convert into ounces is really easy. You just need to know that 28.35 grams is 1 ounce. So we need to take our KOH required amount, start with the equals, remember, so equals the KOH required amount here, click enter, and then we divide it by 28.35, and that tells us in ounces how much we require. And we can highlight and copy down for that. For the sodium hydroxide, it is exactly the same sum. So we start the formula with an equals, we go to the sodium hydroxide amount here, we click on it, and then we divide it by 28.35. Enter. And again, highlight here and copy down. And if you want to, again, you can highlight that, come down to format cells, go to number, and format it to 3 decimal places or however many decimal places you use. And for our summing up, we come back up here to formulas, we click on auto sum and we click enter. And here we do the same, click on auto sum and click enter. Highlight it into bold by clicking this button here, and that will tell us how much lye we require in ounces. And again, just to make this in line with the others, we shall highlight the potassium hydroxide in orange, and we shall highlight the sodium hydroxide in green. And I think we will highlight these columns as well, just to make it look pretty and easy to read. And now you see, if we change our superfat back to 5, click enter, on the conversion chart, it has also amended the amounts. And that is about it. I hope you guys have managed to follow that. Essentially, all you need to do is do exactly what I've done. Do the columns exactly as I have done them. Use the formulas exactly the way I have done them, like this. And if you follow all that, and with the conversion just up here, then that will be a way of creating your own lie calculator, so that if your internet ever goes down or Soap Calc disappears, you have still got your own lie calculator that you can use to reliably create your own soaps. If you wanted to add in more oils at a future date, you would click the cell below, which is why I've left it blank, right click, click insert, and it will give you a new line. So say we then added in avocado oil. Let's say you wanted 50 grams of avocado oil. You can see the number here has now changed from what it was. The SAP value of avocado oil is not something I can remember offhand, but let's just imagine, just for testing, that it is 180. And you can now see that I've put in 180 and it has automatically worked out all of these other sums for me, and it has updated our required lie amounts. So there you have it. That is our lie calculator. I hope it was easy enough to follow. I hope that I made it simple enough. Hopefully it will help you guys out. If you do enjoy our channel and you would like to support our channel, please do consider buying us a coffee just here. All the proceeds from Buy Us a Coffee do get funneled back into supporting the channel, and we really appreciate anything that we do receive. Also, if you enjoy our channel, please do hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a like and leave us a comment. And we will see you next time for some more soapy fun. Bye for now.